Glad I didn't sing that third song last. Because I probably acted a fool.
Thank you, Lord.
That was pretty awesome.
That was good. Thank you, Jesus.
But I just want to start off by saying this. You ever got a revelation about something and you don't really know how to articulate it to tell somebody else about what exactly you mean?
Yes.
That's what I have on me tonight. I have a revelation of some stuff, and I told Wendy on the way to church, I said, I know what I have on the inside of me, but I just hope I can get it out the way that it's on the inside of me. And as they begin to sing about the cross,
Amen.
and as I'm going to preach later about Job, and as I'm going to preach later about Mephibosheth, you know, last time I preached, I talked about, shame on us for some of the things we do.
Amen.
It burdens me to think about myself and my little petty struggles. And when you put that out of your mind and you begin to think about Jesus hanging on the cross,
Yes.
when you begin to think about what He really did,
Yes, Lord.
we can think about Him as a carnal man doing that and giving up everything, but He left heaven
Yes, He did.
to come. He didn't have to come. He volunteered to come.
Yes, He is.
And He came and He hung on that cross, and He was beaten, and He was spit on, He was mocked, He was made fun of. He was buried in a tomb for 3 days. Why? Because He loved us that much.
Yes,
And here we are, we get caught up in our pity parties of not feeling good for 2 minutes, or not getting our way for 2 minutes, or not getting the things that we want. And we want to hold Him hostage over what He's not done for us when He did everything for us. Just the songs just brought that to mind. How can we do that? How can we be so selfish, so self-centered that in our little one moment of weakness, in our one moment of anguish, we can say, why, God, did you do this? Why did you do that?
Yes.
Well, how can we do that? Because we forget.
Amen.
We forget that He gave everything. He gave everything, church. And here we are questioning Him in one moment of insecurity about how He can let us go through something. When the problem is we need to be searching our inside. We need to be searching what's on the inside of us. Because the truth of the fact is, He is not to worship us, we're to worship Him. He shouldn't be at our beck and call, we should be at His beck and call. And I really believe that's why we're in the shape we are in.
Yes.
Because we've lost sight of what really matters. We've lost sight over so many distractions. And I preach this often. So many distractions. So many distractions. I'll give you one today that happened. How many of you know that Kobe Bryant was killed in the helicopter clash? Millions and millions and millions. He was an awesome basketball player. And that's all I know about him. See, he's an awesome basketball. I don't know him. I don't know his family. But millions of posts about that. We've lost focus.
Amen. Yes, Lord.
We've lost focus when you can put out a post about Jesus and somebody wants to give you confrontation about it. We've lost focus when you ain't allowed to talk about Him anymore. We've lost focus.
Amen.
When a basketball player is more important than the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, we've lost focus. And don't get me wrong, I'm not making light of it. I hate it. He's got 4 small children. I hate it.
Yes.
It's devastating news, but we've lost focus when that becomes more important than God Almighty.
Yes. Yes. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord.
I was thinking about something. I'm going to use Carla. She'll get mad at me. I love you. Don't get mad at me. But we was taking her the other day to get a haircut. And I usually don't mind. I usually pretty much go with the flow. I really don't get into the whole, I let Mama take care of all that. But some reason it pricked my heart, man. I was like, oh, she wanted to get her hair cut off up to her shoulders. And I was like, oh. I never had felt that way before. Usually I'm like, whatever you want, just that's fine, just do it. But I even spoke out about it, which is not normal for me to speak out about a haircut. All right, I'm like, okay now, how much we talk about getting cut off? You know, how are they going to do this and how are they going to do that? Are they going to cut the bangs or what? You know, because I wanted to know what my little girl was going to be doing, because I wanted to know what it was. I wanted to see the finished product before I wanted to give up anything.
Amen. That's right.
I wanted to know in my mind what it was going to be like. And God gave me the title of my sermon is Extreme Makeover. She didn't need an extreme makeover. She only got this a little bit cut off and you can't even hardly tell it. But it was a good thing. I told her it's going to make it healthier, make it grow back quicker, all this stuff. And the finished product was awesome and she looked cuter than ever. But I couldn't get over the part of letting it happen. Because I wanted to hold on to everything that I knew. I wanted to hold on to all that old stuff and the baby. I didn't want to see no change.
Amen.
I wanted to keep it exactly the way it was.
Yes, Lord.
See, that's what we do. Whenever we talk about an extreme makeover, a makeover is nothing more than a transformation made by the altering of something.
Yes.
See, but the problem is with a makeover is you have to get rid of the old
Amen.
before you can get the new.
That's right.
And see, I didn't want to get rid of the old so I could see the new product.
Amen.
You know, if any of you ever watched that show, Extreme Makeover, we used to watch it. When they come in and a family's struggling or they've had a sick kid or something and they want to come in and they want to fix up their house and do an extreme makeover on their house, the first thing they have to do is they have to take all the old stuff and tear it out. They have to get rid of everything that was there before they can rebuild the new stuff.
Amen.
But see, if they were standing there in the house saying, you can't take this wall out, you can't touch that. No, my little girl, she was over here. You can't mess with this. And you kept putting limitations on everything in the old that we wanted to keep hold of, then you would never see the new product come forth.
That's right.
You would never see what the finished product was going to look like.
Yes, Lord. Hallelujah.
Extreme means to the highest degree.
Yes.
The furthest point from what we call sinner or normal. That means whatever we're holding on to, the furthest thing that you can imagine. The most extreme thing you can imagine. And I started thinking about it and whenever you think about a makeover, the first thing you want to think about is what? Appearance, right? If you take some homeless person off the street, I watch it on Facebook sometimes. So I think it's awesome. You take a man or a woman that's homeless and they haven't had a bath in 3 weeks and their hair's all long and their beard's all matted up, and they take them and they give them the special treatment in a spa, and they pamper them and then they bring them out and they look like a whole new creation. Because the old stuff's no longer there.
That's right.
You don't see them saying, oh, don't wash my hair. Don't comb my hair. Don't cut my beard away. Leave it all. They say, whatever you got to do, just give it to me. Do it. Make me look better. And when they come out, they don't look the same as they used to look.
That's right.
They don't look the same. See, we don't want to give up change. We don't want to give up the old stuff because it's comfortable.
That's right. Thank you, Jesus.
It's comfortable.
Oh, Jesus.
Y'all turn with me to 2 Samuel 4:4 if you want to. I'm just going to read something real quick. Y'all already know it if you don't want to turn there. It says, Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame of his feet. He was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel. And his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to pass, as she made haste to flee, that he fell, and became lame, and his name was Mephibosheth.
Thank you, Jesus.
I'm going to take you over to 2 Samuel 9 verse 1. It says, And David said, Is there yet any that is left in the house of Saul, that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake? And there was in the house of Saul a servant whose name was Ziba. And when they had called him unto David, the king said unto him, Art thou Ziba? And he said, Thy servant is he. And the king said, Is there not yet any of the house of Saul, that I may show my kindness of God unto him? And Ziba said unto him, the king, Jonathan hath yet a son, which is lame in his feet. And the king said unto him, Where is he? And Ziba said unto the king, Behold, he is in the house of Makeover, the son of Amiel, in Lodabar. The king David sent and fetched him out of the house, the son of Amiel from Lodabar. Now when Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, was come unto David, he fell on his face and did reverence. And David said, Mephibosheth. I want you to catch that right there. When David spoke to him, he said, Mephibosheth. And he answered, Behold thy servant. I want you to think about that. And y'all have heard this preached a million times, I'm sure, it's like I have. But here he was, and y'all know the story, y'all know the backstory of it. There was a great battle, and his grandfather was killed, and his father was killed, and all of a sudden, everything that he ever knew was normal was gone. He was about to have an extreme makeover. Can you imagine being in a place at a young age of 5 years old, and all of a sudden, all this chaos comes? And can you imagine who the messengers was coming back from the battlefield to tell them that everybody that they had known and loved had been killed in battle? Can you imagine the fear that run through everybody? Can you imagine the fear that run through the person that picked up Mephibosheth and tried to hide him because he was the last one left? He was the last heir left. And they took him and they tried to hide him, but on the way to where he was trying to get, they dropped him. And he was lame. And from that point on, all through the scripture, anytime he was labeled as the lame boy. Whenever they talked about him, they said the guy that's lame in his feet. Oh yeah, by the way, his name is Mephibosheth. They recognized him by the old the whole time. By the old, by the old, by the old. He's been dropped. You don't want to go down there to Lodabar because he's been dropped. If anybody talked about him, you're talking about the guy that was dropped, the guy that's lame in his feet. Oh yeah, by the way, his name's Mephibosheth.
Jesus.
You know, can you imagine growing up knowing that you was royalty, but you had to hide? Can you imagine growing up knowing that you was an heirship, but if you stepped out that you would be disqualified because of things that had happened to you? See, that's where I want to get tonight. That's the revelation I got tonight was see, there's things that's happened to us. And you know, and the first thing we want to think about is material things like drugs and alcohol and perversion and things like that. And yeah, that happens. That happened. But I want to talk to you about something a little bit more deeper than that, a little bit more spiritual than that. When God started revealing this to me, and I want you to hang with me because I get a little emotional when I think about it. You know, God said, you want to stand up and preach about healing. And I believe it with everything in me. That's what I say. I believe with everything in me.
Yeah, bless him, Lord.
And then there's this one thing that comes to me and says, you remember that time? You ever had that happen?
Yes.
When you believe in something that you know is going to happen, and then something comes to you and says, you remember that one time?
Yes. Mercy, Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
You remember that one time bondage. It ain't the drugs that's holding you in bondage, although they can. I'm talking about something that's on the inside of our spirit that we don't even recognize because we won't let go of the old so that we can have the new. I'm talking about when my buddy Billy was 33 years old and his mom come to me and I sold him a boat, and I don't know if I've told y'all this story or not, and I prayed for 5 minutes. I said, God, if you give me 5 minutes to witness to me. He had terminal cancer in his lungs. I said, God, give me 5 minutes. Yeah. His mom worked with me, and his mom said, Jessie, it's not a coincidence. Please witness to him. I said, oh, I plan to. I plan to, and I prayed for a week. God, give me 5 minutes. God gave me an hour. I witnessed to him for an hour as he wept in his truck because I was telling him of hope that he'd never heard of before. I was telling him how God could heal him. I was telling him how God could save him. I was telling him how his 3-year-old baby girl didn't have to live without a daddy. I was telling him something he ain't never heard before, and he began to let go of the old and grab on to what I was telling him, and he got hope for the first time. And over the course of the next year, I got to go down to the hospital and baptize him. I got to be part of all of it. I didn't get to see him saved. He called me, and I could hear it in his voice over the telephone when he said, I did it. I got saved this morning. I'm telling you, church, I didn't know what to do. But what do you do when you can't let go of the old and grab onto the new? What do you do when you can't tear the walls down so they can be rebuilt? What do you do when you lay hands on a sick person and something brings up in your mind, Satan says, you remember that time?
Thank you, Jesus.
You remember that time when you prayed for Billy, but Billy died. You remember that time when you promised him hope and he didn't get what you promised him.
Jesus,
And God began to tell me, I need an extreme makeover.
Yes.
Because before I can see the new, I got to let go of the old.
yes, yes.
I can say I got faith. And people want to tell you, oh, he's healed now, and I believe that.
Yes.
Oh, he ain't hurt now, and I believe that.
Yes.
But I also believe of a God of mercy and love and passion and compassion. And I believe that we're all called an expected end, but that expected end has to come when God says it. And it may have been his time, but it crushed my spirit.
Yes, Jesus.
It crushed my spirit to the point that I didn't even realize until the day that it was a hang-up. I didn't realize until the day that it was a hang-up.
Jesus. Bless you.
Because how can you, that's why it's so awesome when you can go other, I mean, you know, it's going to happen here. I'm telling you, I decree it, and I say it in the name of Jesus. We're going to see it.
Thank you, Jesus.
That's just one of the things. What can we not let hold of? What can we not let go of? What is it that has been in your life that you can't let go of? What is it that you've seen in your life that you can't let go of? God's saying, I want to show you all these new things. Or maybe it may be that you can't believe for a healing because you've never got one. Maybe you're still hurting in your body. Maybe you're still ailing in your body. You're saying, God, I see it. I see you doing it for everybody else, but when are you going to do it for me? And you can't believe for everybody else because you ain't got your breakthrough yet.
That's right. Amen. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
I go back to Job, and this is going to be at the end, but I'll go ahead and tell it because I feel it. I feel the unction to go ahead and tell it. The Bible said Job was an upright man.
Yes, he was.
And God gave him over and told the enemy, said, go ahead and try it. go ahead and try it with Job. I started thinking, why would that happen? Have you ever thought about that? Why did God do that? This was a man that loved God, that served God, that had everything going on. And he said, just go ahead and try Job. Who would we be if we said, God, why would you do that? You ever been in that place? I have.
Yes.
You get a devastating news from the doctor. First thing we want to say, God, why would you do that? Why would you let me go through this? Why would you make me go through this?
Come on.
When the truth of the matter is, Job went through it, but so have we. We went through it. How many of you can look back on where you came from and said, if it had not been for this situation, I wouldn't be where I'm at today? How many of you can look back and say, if God didn't let me go this direction, I may have done something completely different? I can say, God, if it wasn't for that sickness that come up in my life, I wouldn't be standing in this pulpit tonight preaching the Word of God, because I would have never went that way. But see, there's something about it when you let Him tear down that old stuff out of your life, and it don't matter. And at the end of it all, Job said, God, why? Why? That's just like us. Can you imagine what God thought when He said that? God, where was you? Where was you? God said, where was you? Where was you when I was hanging on the cross? Jesus stood come and gave everything. Where was you when I lost my only son? Where was you? What are you doing asking me why? Where was you at? It's not about you, it's about me. But see, we can't do that. We can't do that. Our flesh won't allow us to do that. See, because what's on the inside of us, we are so carnal. We are so carnal that we want to question everything that happens. We want to question every decision. We want to question everything that happens in this country. Let me tell you something about this country.
Thank you, Jesus.
And don't get me wrong, I'm dead against it. I'm dead against it. I'll stand up and support it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with supporting it. Don't take it out of context. When all these politicians are acting crazy, when all this stuff's going on in the world, when all these places are getting bombed, when all these, guess what, baby? It's got to happen, because this book right here says it has to happen. It don't matter what they do, but I'll tell you one thing, and I know it's true, in the back of the book, we win. I don't care what they do. I don't care if they take our guns. I don't care if they bomb Egypt. I don't care, because we're going to win. I promise you we're going to win. I don't care. I mean, yeah, I do care, but it's got to happen.
Yes.
You want to ask me why this place is acting so crazy? Because it has to happen.
Yes, it does.
It has to happen. But I'll tell you this too, he ain't coming back for a half backslid bride. He's going to get his church right. You watch what I'm telling you. His church is going to get right. And it's going to get right before long. I'm telling you, it can't keep going like this.
Yes, amen.
I serve a God that says it in the book, and guess what? If He says it, it will happen. I promise you it'll happen. We may not like it, but it's going to happen whenever it happens, and He's going to say that it happens, and it will happen. I promise you.
Amen. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Jesus.
But old Job, he got mad, and I would have too. He got mad at it, and he said, God, I don't understand. And God said, look, I know what you went through.
Thank you, Jesus.
But then guess what he got in the end? He got double of everything.
That's right.
He got double of everything, church, because of what he went through.
Thank you. Jesus. Jesus.
I wonder though if we searched ourselves for real. If we searched ourselves for real. I sometimes often wonder, I'll go ahead and be transparent with you. My wife will probably have to from the back. But I have a line, like, it's not really a drum line, but it's an imaginary line. And you can come to that line, but if you step over that line, I'm going to blow a gasket. And I can't help it. I'm going to help it. I can't help it tomorrow. There's things in our life that are there that we don't want there.
Amen.
There's things in our life that when we start to really search the secret places and the dark, deep places and the wounded places and the hurt places, the places that you don't want to talk about. Let me tell you a little example here of how you know if it's a place that's an issue. When somebody brings it up, it starts to make you uncomfortable. It starts to hurt a little bit. It starts to burn a little bit. There's something on the inside of you that starts getting irritated a little bit because you don't want that to be brought up. You don't want that to be brought up to you at that point in time. You don't want to talk about it anymore. You don't even want to think about it anymore. You just want to put it over there in the corner.
Amen.
And just leave it there.
Amen.
If you would come to me and tell me I had an anger problem, I would probably say, I don't want to talk about that. My wife says, you're the worst person ever to be critiqued. Is that a flaw? Absolutely. I'm hard on myself, but they better not be nobody else hard on me. Is anybody else like that? Or is it just me? If I went home and she said, well, you preach pretty good, but probably shouldn't have did this, probably shouldn't have did that, I'd be like, you could be kidding me. Tell me what to do. Anyway, that's my flaws. I'm sure y'all don't have any.
Thank you, Jesus.
But on a serious note, when you really start thinking about, you know, we've come so far as a church. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm disappointed that there's not more people. I'm sure Pastor is. And I started to really pray about it. And I started to say, God, you know, Lord, you told us. You told us you was going to fill the house. He even prophesied. Guess what? God don't lie. He prophesied. He said it. We was going to have a full house. He said we was going to be looking for land. He said all these things. But yet here we are with 10 people. It don't make sense. So, being the awesome man of God I am, I started questioning God. Why, God? Man, when I first started, God, we had like 90 people. Now we got 10. Let me tell you what he told me. He told me the same thing he told Job. Won't you quit worrying about yourself and start concentrating on me?
Amen.
Why don't you start worrying about how many people you're going to be preaching to, and why don't you start worrying about how much praise you can give me, and then you watch the house fill up. That's what he said. See, but it's hard because we don't want to let go of that old thing. We don't want to let go of that old thing, and I'm telling you, it goes for anything that you're doing.
Amen.
I'm going to tell you right now, if the Bible says that He's the Alpha and the Omega. You know what that means, though? Really? That means He is the beginning and the end. But that means that you believe He's God in the beginning and He's God in the end, right? So there is no difference between the beginning and the end. The only difference is what's in the middle. And that's where we're at. It doesn't matter what we do in the middle. I promise you, the God of the end is still going to come to where He wants to come to. That's the only way it can happen. He is the end. He is the beginning and He is the end, and it will happen. And He's already, the Bible says He knows the beginning from the end. He knows it. He knew you before you were ever created. He knew that you were going to be here tonight. He knew everything. He knows everything.
Yes, Lord.
And if we truly believe that He knows the end, why in the world do we question the ending?
Jesus.
Because that's what we do. When do we question the ending? Whenever we don't get our way. Whenever it doesn't go our way, then we start questioning God. Why this? Why that? Why this? When He's saying, don't ask why, just ask who. Just ask who it is. If we give Him all the focus, all the glory, all the honor, all the praise, everything else will start to fall in place.
Amen.
Everything else will start to fall in place. But we got to do an extreme makeover, church. All of those hang-ups that's causing us to feel that way has to be torn down. And that was just one example of me. You know, when I was praying, I want to see. There's nothing more that I want to see. I believe this, and I don't want to prophesy because it's just something I really, really feel strongly about. But I believe that there's going to be a miracle in this church.
Yes.
And I believe that God's going to use that miracle to fill this congregation. Can you imagine? I've said that before. Can you imagine when somebody gets up out of a wheelchair? We throw it out here in the road. And they walk out of here like they're supposed to be walking. And the word starts, and you're talking about somebody, I always say, you got to make a noise. You got to make a noise to be heard. And I do that at work. If you got good old Johnny over here, Johnny's working, and Johnny ain't saying a word about nothing, Johnny ain't going to get no attention. Johnny may need a raise. Johnny may not have had a raise in 10 years. But as long as he's complacent, as long as he stays in his little place, he's not ever going to get anything. My dad used to say the squeaky wheel's the one that's going to get the grease. And that's what I believe as a church. So there has to become a noise out of the church, and there has to be a good sound.
Yes.
It has to be a good sound. But can you imagine the sound that would come out of the church if we seen a miracle?
Yes, amen.
So as you begin to pray and you begin to believe God for souls, you begin to believe God for healings and deliverances and seeing people get saved and set free, delivered, and drug addicts coming down and throwing down the drugs on the altar. As you begin to believe for that,
Thank you, Lord.
I want you to search yourself
Yes, Lord.
and say, is there anything, God? Just like my situation. Do I believe in healings? Absolutely. 100%. Do I believe that God will do it? Absolutely. 100%. But there's that place in my mind. It's that old mindset that's stuck in there. Maybe from a religious upbringing. I don't know where it came from, but it's in there that says, how about this one time? How about this one time? If you're believing for a drug addict, you can't think about a recovery program that says there's not a very good success rate with drug addiction. You can't let that enter your mind, church. Because that's an old mindset. And we got to have a new mindset. If we truly want to believe that somebody can throw down the drugs and recover and be who they're supposed to be, then we can't be letting that slip into our mind. But see, the problem is there's places in our life that's been damaged that we don't want to deal with.
Yes, Lord.
I promise you, if you've had a kid or a family member of any sort that has really had a bad drug addiction, it's going to be hard to believe for recovery from somebody else when you can't see recovery in your own home. It's going to be hard to believe for them because you see the stronghold that drugs has in your household. It's going to be hard. The same thing. I believe that God says faith is a mustard seed. I studied that out one time, and you know what that means? It's, everybody knows how big a mustard seed is.
Yes.
But you know something about a mustard seed? Is it's 100% pure. If it's not pure, it will not grow. So when he says you've got to have faith as a mustard seed, yeah, you've got to have a little bit of faith, but guess what else you've got to have? You've got to have pure faith.
Yes.
You got to have pure faith. I can't be up here praying for somebody, thinking in the back of my mind about some other time that God didn't heal somebody. I can't be doing that. If I am doing that, I probably don't need to be praying for them.
That's right. Thank you, Lord.
So as God began to give me this revelation, and what it was is, Job went through some hard stuff that he didn't deserve.
Thank you.
And I promise you, the hardships that's been in your life, the stuff that's been on you, and y'all know what they are. Even as I say them, you're rehearsing them in your mind right now. I promise. Everybody in this place is thinking of a hang-up right now in their mind of something that they got to get out of their mind to see something else go forward. Because we all have it. But if I was to say, what is it? Y'all say, don't want to talk about that. And that's fine. You don't have to talk about it. But you have to deal with it.
Amen.
You have to deal with it. I have to believe that no matter how hard I believed, and even though all the times that you pray for somebody to recover, if they don't recover, you've got to still believe that He's God. And He has the final say, amen? And you still got to believe, when you lay hands on a sick person, that they will recover. You have to believe that.
Amen. Right. Thank you, Lord.
But I believe we all have calls, we all have gifts, we all have appointments. And we all, guess what else too? If God gave you a gift or a talent, He gave you everything you needed on the inside of you to see that happen, to see it succeed.
That's right.
If He called you to be a preacher, you've got everything in you to make that come forward. If He called you to be a Sunday school teacher, a singer, whatever it is, a witness, an intercessor, whatever He called you to be is on the inside of you, and everything that's on the inside of you to make that happen is already there. But the problem is, just like everybody else, we start to look at the damage spots. We start to look at the why me's. We start to look at the, how about that time back in the past? We start to look at the, well, this person did this, and I didn't get to do that. And well, if you really felt good about that, Jessie, and you're telling me the truth, then why do we have 10 people in this church? I can't answer that because I ain't God, but I know one thing. When He says it, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It may not be with me, but it's going to happen. Somewhere along the line, it's going to happen. Because God is not a man that He can lie. Whenever He says it, whenever that word goes out, it cannot come back void. It has to happen. Amen? It has to happen. So I want you to get that in your spirit tonight. Just think about Mephibosheth. Let me go back to him for a second.
Thank you, Jesus.
He's laying there. No fault of his own. If you have somebody that's messed up in your family, that's your fault. If I pray for my buddy and he doesn't recover, it's not my fault. Even though I want to take responsibility for it, it's not my fault. If you was brought up in a religious mindset that tells you to disqualify people, it's not your fault. That's the way you was brought up. If you was brought up in a place of poverty, and I always tell this story. We knew this girl that I'll just say that we worked with, and she had a really good job. And one day we had kids. She come to. And there's nothing against what I'm about to tell you, but she come to work and she said, "Hey, I have all this extra baby formula. I mean, tons of it. Y'all can have it all because I don't need it." She's like, "Well, where did you get it?" "Well, I got it down there at the, was it WIC or whatever? That's where you get assistance." Well, she made as much as we did. I'm like, how did you? But once I started talking and figuring out where she come from, and there's nothing against that. If you need help, there ain't nothing against it. But she had a poverty mindset. She was raised in a place where she was raised poor. She was raised to abuse and use the system. And even though she was successful and had a lot of money, she still was in a mindset and a place to where she had to abuse that. That's a stronghold. There's nothing against it. Don't get me wrong. I was raised poor. 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 So there's nothing against it. I traded food stamps, like they were common currency. There's nothing against that. But when you're raised up and you come to expect that and you live your life to a lower standard because of your mindset, there's a problem with that. There's a problem with that. If you feel like that you can't have better things because of your upbringing, that's a stronghold. That's a thing that needs to be torn down and remade. Amen. That's just one thing. if you can't, I always crack on a buddy of mine that's been married a few times. I said, sometimes you got to look at the common denominator. If you got 10 wives and none of them work out, may not be the wives, but it's easy when you come out of a broken relationship to start thinking of yourself as a damaged person. That's a mindset that has to be torn down. How in the world can I believe for somebody to restore their marriage when I don't believe that a marriage would ever work? That's a mindset. And it's not the common ones that you're talked to about. I mean, yeah, we can identify drugs. We can identify alcohol. We can identify headaches. We can identify sickness. We can, we can all identify those easy ones. We can't identify what happened to you when you was 5 years old. We can't identify how the teacher talked down to you and you can't ever forget how she called you stupid. You can't forget about that, and I can't see it. And you don't want to talk about it because it still hurts. It's still wrong. I had a preacher tell me one time, said, well, maybe you need to put a little Holy Ghost salve on that raw spot. And that's the only way we can heal a church. But when Mephibosheth and I go ahead and go in, Mephibosheth was down there, he said, is there anybody I can show my kindness to? Because you know the story, David and Jonathan had a covenant. He said, I'm blessed. I just want to show my blessing to somebody that's kin to Jonathan. He said, yeah, there's just one kid. He's crippled though. His name's Mephibosheth. He called him by who he was. He called him by his past. Then he went down there. Can you imagine being in a place at Lodabar, which means no pasture? Nothing will grow. Terrible place. Look it up. It's not a good place to live. Him, royalty, living in a place like that, and then all of a sudden one day you're just chilling out in your bad place, and all of a sudden you're knocking on the door. So I heard something cool the other day too, and I'll share this with you because of that knock. The Bible says, knock and it shall be opened.
Amen.
I heard a preacher say, none of y'all are knocking. Well, why ain't you knocking? Because you've already moved into your place of complacency. So there's nowhere to go. You ain't going to knock for something if you're already comfortable with where you are. You ain't going to ask God to open those doors if you're already comfortable. You ain't going to ask God to broaden your horizons if you're already in a place where you're comfortable. But anyway, Mephibosheth's sitting there. And all of a sudden, knock, knock, knock. Somebody comes in and says, the king's men are here for you. Can you imagine the fear? It was a common thing. When a new heir of a king went up, he would kill everybody in that last lineage so that there was no chance that he could ever be overtaken. So I'm sure that Mephibosheth's sitting there thinking, oh, hide me. Please do it. Send them away. Tell them I'm not here. Do whatever you got to do. Please don't let my past catch up with me. Please don't let my past come back and kill me. Please don't let my past kill me. Because they thought he was going to be killed. And can you imagine those big, I'm telling you, I'm talking about kings, men. They wasn't no scrawny little men. They walked up in there and said, yo, are you Mephibosheth? He's like, I'm Mephibosheth. He said, well, the king sent for you.
Yes, sir.
He's like, oh God. Here we go. Even though I didn't deserve what I got, now I'm going to have to die for it. Even though I didn't deserve what I had as a 5-year-old kid, even though I didn't deserve it, all of it's going to come back and haunt me now.
Yes.
Even though those prayers you prayed were not answered, you feel like it's all coming back to you now. Even because all those hurts and hang-ups that are in your life, even though they wasn't your fault, they always haunt you. They always come back to you. They're always knocking on your door. They always want somebody to answer. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault that you got about your problems and your issues and the things that you don't want to talk about. To be honest with us, none of us wants to deal with it. But the problem with that is, if you truly want to be what God has called you to be, if you truly want to see what God says you can see, if you truly want to do the things He's promised, then we got to make sure that our house is in order. We got to make sure that everything, and you know, I can worry about these empty seats, but God says, worry about your own house. Worry about your own anger issues. Worry about your own disbelief. Worry about your own stuff. Worry about your own temper. Worry about your own sermons. Don't you worry about nobody else. If you give your focus to me, I'll take care of everything else. He says, if you'll just give yourself to me, like you're supposed to, you worry about the inside of your own place.
Yes, Lord.
But Mephibosheth, you know what amazes me? They don't talk about how he got there. But you know how he got there? They had to carry him. There's no other way. He was crippled. They had to carry him. So these men carried him up and set him in front of King David. And all of a sudden, for the first time, he wasn't called by his disability. The Bible says, he said Mephibosheth. That was the first thing. He called him by his name. And he said, yes, King. See, because, don't get this is the revelation I told you about. But no matter what he went through, no matter where he'd been, no matter where he lived at, no matter how many times he was dropped, no matter how bad it got, no matter how hungry he got, no matter where he was at in Lodabar, but when he got to the king, and he still realized who the king was.
Yes. Amen.
And the Bible says he gave him reverence. See, that's where we mess up, church. It don't matter how bad it gets. It don't matter how empty the seats are. It don't matter how many people we're seeing saved and healed. It don't matter how bad it is at home. It don't matter how bad they hurt you. It don't matter what the last church did to you. It don't matter any of that. If we can remember who the King is, if we can remember where He is and what He's about, if we can give Him reverence that He deserves, it doesn't matter about anything else. But see, but we forget about that. In our little problems, we forget about who the King is. That's what I said when I started. We got to remember Him. Got to remember Jesus giving up everything for us. Every time we're down and out, we got to remember that He gave it all for us. But I challenge you, if you want to go forward, you don't have to, and I may have been preaching to myself more than anybody, and that's okay too. But there's some problems. There's some things in our lives that still hurt. There's some things in our lives that, even though we believe for greater things, there's some things that's in the old place that we need to tear down and give an extreme makeover to. Because the problem with the makeover, like I told you starting out, is if you don't get rid of the old stuff, you can never have the new. If you don't get rid of the old mindset, you can never have a new mindset. If you don't get rid of the hurt, God can never heal it. If you won't let Him have it. If you hold on to it, never let Him have it. But I want you to think about it as we just put that song back on about the red letters or whatever you want to play. But I want you to stand and I just want you to begin to think about it. If you want to come to the front, that's fine. But it ain't about me. It ain't about this church. But it's about your mindset. It's about the things that God's promised you. You're promised to be such an amazing person. You're promised all these things. You're promised to see healings. I believe about half of us in here or more know about a gift that we have in our life that we've never seen that gift operate. Well, I want to tell you tonight, there's something that's causing that gift not to come to operation. You've got to find out what that is and you've got to get rid of it tonight. Yes. If you take it to the King, if you take it to the King, He'll take care of it.
Yes. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
Well, listen, church, like I said, I ain't trying to drum nothing up. I ain't trying to stir nothing up. All it is I want you to hold yourself accountable. I want you to, nobody preaches salvation and holiness anymore. To be holy means that you're clean. You got If there's things that you still can't talk about, you need to deal with that tonight. God's got a mighty work for His church. God's got a mighty work for you to do. God's got a mighty work for this community. But if we're still living in an old mindset, we're never going to be able to take that step forward. The power of God is in this place every service. But you have to be, I told Connor the other day when he went out, he has a hard time sometimes distinguishing at church, at school. You know, I told him, I said about being a leader. A leader, if you follow that leader and the leader's not who he's supposed to be, he'll lead you right in a ditch. He'll lead you over a cliff. He'll make you do things you ain't supposed to do. But I told him, I said, a good leader will lead you where you're supposed to be. And I also told him this, and he didn't really understand it, but it's the same thing about the church service. You can sit in church and whenever the Holy Spirit comes down, you're a thermostat. You're not a thermometer. You're not measuring the atmosphere. You're turning up the atmosphere. But as long as you sit there and be who you are and don't come forward to get what God's done for you, you're still going to be the thermometer. You got to turn it up sometimes. You got to turn up the atmosphere sometimes. There's some of these things that y'all, I'm telling you, church, I felt this strong today. There's some of these things that you've been holding on to for a long